Imagine waking up to see headlines about a new tariff storm from President Trump, 25% slapped on heavy trucks, 50% on kitchen cabinets and vanities, 30% on upholstered furniture, and an unbelievable 100% tariff on branded pharmaceutical drugs unless those companies start building factories inside the United States. It sounds dramatic. It's fiery politics. It dominates the news cycle. But what if I told you that something even bigger, quieter, and far more dangerous is happening behind the scenes? What if the real story isn't about tariffs at all, but about the one thing that has kept America afloat for decades, its ability to borrow, and how that power is now under direct attack? Ask yourself this: what would happen if the very countries that have financed America's rise suddenly decided they no longer wanted to bankroll its future? What if Canada, China, Brazil, and others that once eagerly bought US debt are now dumping it? Because according to the US Treasury's own July 2025 report, that's exactly what's happening. And it could be the beginning of a financial earthquake unlike anything we've seen before. For decades, America's greatest weapon has not been its military might, not tanks, not fighter jets, not even nuclear missiles. It's been its ability to borrow unlimited sums of money from the rest of the world. This system of borrowing wasn't built overnight. It started after World War II and became the foundation of global finance. Treasuries, the bonds issued by the US government, were treated like gold. They were considered risk-free, the safe haven of safe havens. Whenever a financial crisis erupted, whether it was Asia in the 1990s, the global meltdown of 2008, or even the chaos of the pandemic, investors poured into treasuries. That trust allowed America to run deficits year after year, to spend beyond its means, to fight wars, to stimulate the economy, to pile up debt that would have bankrupted any other nation. But here's the shocking part. That machine depended on one simple fact: foreign countries kept lending. China at its peak held more than $1.3 trillion in treasuries. Japan wasn't far behind. Canada, Brazil, and dozens of others held hundreds of billions. By the mid-2010s, foreigners together owned nearly one-third of all US debt. Think about that. 1 out of every $3 America owed was to someone overseas. It was a strange marriage. America consumed. Other nations produced. America printed paper. The world treated it like gold. Everyone got what they wanted. Until now. Because now the cracks are showing. In July 2025, 3 major economies, Canada, China, and Brazil, dumped nearly $100 billion in US treasuries in a single month. Let that sink in. Not a gradual trim. Not a routine adjustment. A coordinated retreat. The very countries punished hardest by Trump's new tariffs, Canada with 35% duties, Brazil with 50%, China with 100% on key goods, just pulled their money out of America's debt market. This was not a coincidence. This was a rebellion. A financial counterattack. And the numbers are staggering. Canada's holdings collapsed from $438 billion in June to just $381 billion in July. That's a $57 billion exit in 1 month. China cut $26 billion, dropping from $756 to $730 billion. Brazil shaved off $14 billion. Nearly $100 billion gone, and all from nations directly targeted by tariffs. Do you really think that's an accident? Or is it retaliation, plain and simple? Now think about what this means. For decades, foreigners buying US treasuries kept interest rates low. Mortgages, credit cards, business loans, all cheaper because the world trusted America enough to lend at rock-bottom rates. But if those buyers disappear, if they start dumping treasuries, then America will have to pay more to borrow. That means higher interest rates for everything: your mortgage, your car loan, your credit card, even the government's own budget. More taxpayer dollars will go not to schools, not to healthcare, not to infrastructure, but simply to servicing debt. And here's the irony. Trump promised tariffs would make America strong. Instead, they may be weakening the very foundation of US power, its ability to borrow cheaply. Countries don't have to fire missiles to hurt America. They just have to stop lending. So here's the bigger question: if Canada, China, and Brazil are starting to retreat, where is their money going? The answer is one word: gold. All across 2025, central banks have been on a gold buying spree. According to the World Gold Council, official purchases have already topped 1,000 tons this year, one of the largest annual totals in modern history. China has been leading the charge, stacking gold month after month until its reserves reached nearly 74 million ounces, worth about $244 billion. Brazil has been quietly adding to its reserves, too. Even countries not directly in Trump's crosshairs are diversifying. Why? Because gold can't be printed, can't be frozen, and can't be sanctioned the way treasuries can. Think about that. In an era where Washington uses both trade and finance as weapons, foreign governments are asking themselves, why risk it? Why hold assets America can freeze or manipulate when they can hold gold that no one controls? The move to gold is not just financial. It's geopolitical. It's a silent rebellion against the dollar system itself. Now Canada is the exception. Its official gold reserves remain at zero, unchanged for years. But don't think Ottawa is standing still. Instead of buying gold, it's selling US treasuries at a stunning pace. That's its message. If Washington punishes Canada with tariffs, Ottawa won't bankroll Washington's debt. Simple as that. And Canadian investors more broadly are diversifying, putting more money into foreign securities and markets. The result is clear. America's debt is ballooning, $35 trillion and climbing. Foreign creditors are pulling back. Rivals and allies alike are buying gold. The foundation of US dominance, its seemingly endless ability to borrow, is starting to erode. And here's the cliffhanger: once that trust begins to slip, history shows it never fully returns. Once nations start dumping treasuries, once they build alternatives, once they buy gold at record pace, the system begins to shift. Slowly at first. Then suddenly. The dollar's dominance doesn't end overnight, but every month like July 2025 pushes it closer to the edge. Now, imagine the consequences. If demand for US debt weakens, Washington will face higher borrowing costs. That means higher taxes, fewer services, and more political fights over budgets. It means American families paying more just to finance the government's debt binge. It could even mean a global financial shift where gold, not the dollar, regains its crown as the ultimate safe haven. Could we be living through the moment historians will one day call the beginning of the end of dollar dominance? So let me ask you directly, do you think Trump's tariffs are making America strong? Or are they giving America's creditors, the very countries who hold trillions in debt, the motivation to walk away? And if they walk, who will step in? Will it be domestic investors? Will it be higher interest rates? Or will America find itself cornered by its own borrowing addiction? These are not just economic questions. They are questions about national security, global power, and the future of the world order. Because for 50 years, the world has trusted the US dollar above all else. What happens if that trust is gone? And the story doesn't end here. Every ounce of gold China adds to its vaults, every treasury Canada sells, every shift Brazil makes into bullion, it's all part of the same trend: the erosion of dollar dominance. The silent rebellion has begun. And whether Washington admits it or not, the world is watching, and the world is hedging. So when historians look back, they may not remember the exact tariff percentages on trucks or cabinets. They may not even remember the sound bites. What they'll remember is July 2025, the month America's closest ally, its biggest rival, and one of Latin America's powerhouses quietly launched a counterattack not with tariffs, but with the bond market. A rebellion not shouted in speeches, but whispered in financial transactions. A rebellion that could change the global system forever. If you've stayed with me this far, then you already know why this story matters. This channel has no sponsors, no corporate backers, no safety net. It survives only because of people like you. So if you believe this kind of reporting matters, if you believe independent voices should never be for sale, then please help. Hit like, subscribe, and most importantly, share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think? Is America still the world's financial superpower? Or is the tide turning, one treasury sale at a time? Every comment, every click tells the algorithm that truth matters. And together, that's the only way this channel grows, and the only way truth survives.